My husband smirked and said, "My ex will be at Christmas dinner. Try not to make it awkward. Behave yourself for once." I nodded, of course, pretending his words didn't sting. What he didn't know was that I had sent out an invitation of my own. When the doorbell rang, his face drained of color, and the room fell dead silent. Try not to make it awkward. Behave yourself for once. Hudson doesn't even look up from his phone when he says it. Just takes another sip of his scotch. Completely casual, like he's reminding me to pick up his dry cleaning instead of demanding I host his ex-girlfriend at our Christmas dinner. I'm standing in our Lincoln Park apartment holding a dish towel, my hands still wet from washing the dinner plates he barely touched. For a moment I can't move, can't breathe. The words hang in the air between us like poison. Behave yourself, for once. Before we continue, please subscribe to support stories of women reclaiming their power. Your subscription is free and helps us reach others who need to hear this. Now let's see what happens next. As if I'm the problem. As if I'm some unruly child who needs constant correction instead of his wife of 4 years who's done nothing but shrink herself to fit his expectations. "Of course, honey," I hear myself say, voice perfectly pleasant. "Whatever you want." He finally glances up, gives me that satisfied little smirk that used to make my heart flutter. Now it makes my stomach turn, because what Hudson doesn't know, what he can't possibly know, is that I've already seen his phone. I know exactly why Willow is really coming to Christmas dinner, and I've invited someone too. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up to show you exactly how I became this woman. The one standing in a designer kitchen swallowing humiliation with a smile, planning revenge behind perfect manners. 4 years ago, I thought I'd won the lottery when Hudson Whitmore proposed. We met at a corporate fundraiser where I was coordinating the event, making sure the ice sculptures didn't melt. The champagne kept flowing, the silent auction ran smoothly. He was there representing Morrison & Blake, the investment firm where he worked as an analyst. Handsome in his tailored suit, confident in that way that comes from old money and Ivy League degrees, charming when he wanted to be. He pursued me with the same focused intensity he applied to his stock portfolios. Flowers delivered to my office, reservations at restaurants I couldn't afford, weekend trips to his family's lake house in Wisconsin. He made me feel special, chosen, like I was the only woman in Chicago who mattered. 6 months later he proposed. A year after that we were married in a ceremony his mother planned down to the last detail, in a venue his parents paid for, with a guest list that included more of his colleagues than my friends. I should have noticed the pattern then, but I was young, 26 to his 31, and I mistook his control for care, his possessiveness for devotion. The changes started small, subtle suggestions that became firm opinions that became unspoken rules. "That dress is a bit much for a work dinner, don't you think? Maybe something more conservative. Your friends are nice but they're not really our crowd. Why don't we focus on building relationships that benefit both our careers? Event planning is fine for single women, but now that you're my wife you don't need to work. We don't need the money, and honestly, Bella, planning birthday parties isn't exactly a real career." That last one came 8 months into our marriage. I'd been promoted to senior coordinator at the boutique firm where I'd worked for 3 years. I loved my job. The creativity, the problem-solving, the satisfaction of pulling off a perfect event. But Hudson framed quitting as an upgrade, a privilege. "Stay home," he said. "Take care of the apartment. Be my wife. Isn't that what you want?" I wanted to be a good wife. I wanted him to be proud of me, so I quit. Now 3 years later I spend my days in this beautiful apartment that feels more like a showroom than a home. Everything is in shades of gray and cream, sophisticated, mature, expensive. Hudson's taste, not mine. I would have chosen color, warm terracottas, deep blues, anything with life in it. But Hudson said jewel tones were dated and suburban, so we went with his aesthetic. I fill my time decorating, reorganizing, hosting dinners for Hudson's colleagues and their wives. The wives are always polite, always friendly, but there's a distance there. They talk about their careers, law, medicine, finance, and then they turn to me and ask what I do, and I have to say, I'm a homemaker, while watching something shift in their expressions. Pity maybe. Or judgment. I can never quite tell. Hudson comes home late most nights now. Working late, he says, though he never explains what deals require his attention until 9 or 10 p.m. I've learned not to ask. The one time I questioned whether he really needed to be at the office so much, he got that edge in his voice. The one that isn't quite anger but feels like a warning. "Bella, I'm building our future. Do you think this lifestyle pays for itself? The apartment, the car, your credit card? Someone has to do the actual work." So I stopped asking. Instead, I became the perfect wife. I learned to have dinner ready whenever he walked through the door, learned to keep the apartment magazine perfect, learned to dress the way he preferred, learned to smile and nod during his work dinners while his colleagues' wives discussed cases and surgeries and market trends. I learned to make myself smaller. Tonight was supposed to be different. It's October 20th, not an anniversary or birthday, but I'd wanted to do something nice. I spent all afternoon preparing Hudson's favorite meal: pan-seared salmon with a lemon butter sauce, roasted asparagus with parmesan, wild rice pilaf made from scratch. I set the table with our wedding china, the set his parents gave us, white with gold trim. I lit candles, opened a bottle of wine, wore the navy dress. Hudson walked through the door at 9:14, barely glanced at the table and headed straight for the bar cart. And then he told me about Willow. Willow Brennan, the ex-girlfriend from college. The one he dated for 2 years before we met. I knew about her. Hudson mentioned her occasionally, always in this nostalgic tone that made it clear she occupied a different tier in his mind than I did. Willow thinks the tech sector is overvalued. Willow recommended this restaurant. Willow always understood complex financial instruments in a way most people don't. I'd felt twinges of jealousy over the years, but I'd pushed them down. She was in Boston working at some high-powered law firm, making partner, living a life completely separate from ours. She was the past. I was the present. Except now she's moving back to Chicago. And Hudson wants her at our Christmas dinner. She's important to me, Bella. He'd said like that explained everything. We're still close friends. She'll be alone for the holidays and I think it would be nice to include her. I'd suggested inviting my sister Claire instead. She'd been asking to visit and her kids would love the city at Christmas. But Hudson dismissed that immediately. Your sister talks too much. Besides, this isn't about her. Willow is moving back to town. She's going to be part of our social circle, and I need you to be mature about this. Then came the line that's still echoing in my head. Try not to make it awkward. Behave yourself for once. For once. As if I'm constantly misbehaving. As if I'm always embarrassing him. Always failing to meet some standard he hasn't bothered to explain. I'd smiled and agreed because that's what I do now. That's who I've become. Except 2 nights ago I stopped being that woman. 2 nights ago I couldn't sleep. Hudson was snoring beside me, one arm flung across my side of the bed, and his phone kept lighting up on the nightstand with notifications. Usually I ignore it. Work emails, market alerts, nothing that concerns me. But that night something made me look. The screen was unlocked. An incoming text from W was visible in the preview. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Miss you so much. My heart started pounding. I picked up the phone with shaking hands and opened the message thread. What I found destroyed me. Months of messages. Hundreds of them. Hudson and Willow had been in constant contact the entire time she was in Boston. They'd been meeting up during his business trips. Trips I'd helped him pack for, kissed him goodbye for, welcomed him home from without a shred of suspicion. The messages weren't just friendly catch-ups between exes. They were intimate, explicit, full of longing and inside jokes and references to a shared future. Willow, I miss you. Can't wait to be in the same city again. Hudson, me too. It's been torture being apart. Just a few more weeks. Willow, does she suspect anything? Hudson, God no. Bella's too focused on throw pillows and dinner parties to notice anything. She's harmless. Harmless. That word kept appearing. Over and over Hudson described me as harmless. Simple. Easy to manage. Easy to control. Willow, you always said she was simple. Hudson, she is. That's why I married her. Easy to manage. Easy to control. Not like you. You've always been on my level. I'd sat there in the dark, reading message after message, watching my marriage dissolve into something ugly and calculated. Hudson hadn't married me because he loved me. He'd married me because I was manageable, because I wouldn't challenge him or compete with him or demand too much. I was the safe choice, the easy choice, the simple choice. But it was the most recent messages, from just 3 days ago, that changed everything. Hudson, I'm telling her about Christmas tomorrow, setting the stage. Willow, think she'll take the hint? Hudson, eventually. I need her to initiate the divorce. Cleaner that way. My attorney says if she files first, I look like the victim. Plus, the prenup kicks in. She signed it without even reading it. He gets almost nothing. Willow, you're terrible. Hudson, I'm practical. And by New Year's she'll be gone and we can stop hiding. I'd set the phone down exactly where I found it, my hands perfectly steady. The hurt I'd felt moments before had crystallized into something else. Something colder. Something dangerous. Hudson wanted me to initiate the divorce so he could play the victim and keep all our assets thanks to a prenup I'd signed in a haze of love and trust 4 years ago. He wanted to humiliate me by forcing me to serve Christmas dinner to his mistress. He wanted me to behave myself while he dismantled our marriage on his terms. He thought I was too simple to notice, too harmless to fight back. He was wrong. The next morning I'd made him his favorite breakfast, eggs Benedict with fresh hollandaise, and smiled when he barely looked up from his tablet. I'd asked about his day and laughed at his dismissive responses. I'd played the role perfectly, because I'd already decided, if Hudson wants to play games, I'm going to change all the rules. That afternoon while he was at work, I'd dug out our prenuptial agreement from the safe in his office. I'd signed it without reading it 4 years ago, too in love and too trusting to think I'd ever need to know what it said. Now I read every word. The terms were brutal. If I filed for divorce within 5 years of marriage, I'd receive $50,000 and nothing else. No claim to the apartment, even though the down payment came from my inheritance from my grandmother. No alimony, no share of his retirement accounts or investment portfolio. I'd be left with almost nothing. But on page 17, buried in dense legal language, I found something Hudson's attorney probably hoped I'd never notice. An adultery clause. In the event of proven adultery by Hudson Whitmore, all prenuptial conditions are void, and marital assets shall be divided according to Illinois state law. Proven adultery. I'd taken photos of every page of that prenup and emailed them to myself using a secret account I'd created. Then I'd put the document back exactly as I'd found it. Hudson thinks I'm simple. He thinks I'm harmless. He's about to find out how wrong he is. Now standing here with a dish towel in my hands while Hudson scrolls through his phone, completely oblivious to the fact that I know everything, I feel something I haven't felt in years. Power. He wants Willow at Christmas dinner? Fine, she'll be here. But so will some other guests Hudson isn't expecting. And by the time dessert is served, everyone in this apartment is going to understand exactly what kind of man Hudson Whitmore really is, and exactly what kind of woman I've become. The morning after Hudson's announcement about Christmas dinner, I wake up with a clarity I haven't felt in years. He's already gone, left early for a breakfast meeting downtown, or so the note on the kitchen counter claims. I don't believe him anymore. Every word out of his mouth feels like a potential lie now, every explanation suspect. I make coffee and sit at the kitchen island with my laptop, staring at the screen while steam rises from my cup. I need help, professional help, the kind of help that can turn my suspicions into evidence that will hold up in court. I'd spent most of last night, after Hudson finally went to bed, searching online forums, support groups for women leaving marriages, legal advice threads about prenuptial agreements and Illinois divorce law, resources I never imagined I'd need. That's where I found the recommendation. Carmen Delgado, private investigator, former Chicago PD detective, specializes in infidelity cases. 3 different women in the forum had used her services, and all 3 had nothing but praise. She believed me when no one else did, one woman wrote. She got me the evidence I needed to protect myself. I send Carmen an email before I can talk myself out of it. Brief, to the point. I need to document my husband's affair. Can we meet? Her response comes within an hour. Wicker Park Cafe, 2 p.m. today. I'll be at the back table wearing a blue jacket. I spend the rest of the morning in a strange liminal space, going through the motions of my normal routine while my mind races ahead to the afternoon meeting. I make the bed with hospital corners the way Hudson prefers. I wipe down the already clean counters. I respond to a text from Claire asking if we're still on for our monthly lunch next week. Absolutely, I type back. Can't wait to see you. I don't tell her what's happening. Not yet. Claire has never liked Hudson. She thinks I changed after we got married, became quieter, less like myself. She's told me a dozen times I could do better. But I'm not ready to hear "I told you so," even if she's too kind to actually say it. At 1:30, I change into jeans and a sweater. Nothing that screams, meeting with a private investigator to document my husband's infidelity, and head out. Wicker Park is busy with the lunch crowd dispersing, young professionals and artists and students filling the sidewalks. The cafe is tucked into a corner building with big windows and mismatched furniture that's trying hard to look vintage. I spot Carmen immediately, a woman in her 50s with dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, sharp eyes that assess me the moment I walk through the door, wearing the promised blue jacket. She stands and extends her hand. Bella. Yes. Thank you for meeting me. Have a seat. She gestures to the chair across from her, where a laptop and a leather portfolio already sit on the table. There's a coffee in front of her, half finished. Want anything? My treat. I'm fine, thank you. She studies me for a moment, and I have the distinct feeling she's cataloging everything about me. The way I'm sitting, the tension in my shoulders, the fact that I'm not wearing my wedding ring. I'd taken it off this morning without really thinking about it, left it on the bathroom counter next to Hudson's cologne. So, Carmen says, her voice low and professional. Tell me what's going on. I'd rehearsed this conversation in my head during the drive over, but now that I'm here the words stick in my throat. Saying it out loud makes it real in a way it hasn't been yet. My husband is having an affair with his ex-girlfriend, I finally say. They've been involved for at least a year, maybe longer. She's moving back to Chicago and he's invited her to our Christmas dinner. He told me to behave myself. Carmen's expression doesn't change, but something flickers in her eyes. Recognition maybe. She's heard stories like this before. How do you know about the affair? She asks. I found messages on his phone. Hundreds of them. They've been planning a future together. He wants me to file for divorce so he looks like the victim, and there's a prenup that would leave me with almost nothing if I do. But there's an adultery clause, Carmen says. It's not a question. On page 17, if I can prove he cheated, the prenup is void. And you need proof. Documented, undeniable proof. Carmen nods slowly, opens her laptop. I've been doing this for 15 years. Before that, I was with Chicago PD for 20. I've seen every version of this story and I'm going to tell you something right now. Once you go down this road, there's no going back. Once you see the evidence, the photos, the surveillance footage, all of it, you can't unsee it. Even if you already know, seeing it is different. Are you sure you want to do this? I think about Hudson's smirk last night. The casual way he told me to behave myself. The messages where he called me simple, harmless, easy to manage. I already know, I say. I just need the evidence. Carmen's expression softens slightly. Not quite a smile, but close. Then let's get started. She pulls up a standard contract on her laptop and walks me through the terms. Her rates are reasonable, more reasonable than I expected actually. She explains what she'll do. Physical surveillance, digital forensics if needed, documentation of meetings and communications. She asks for details. Hudson's work schedule, his regular haunts, whether he has any security measures on his devices. I tell her everything. About Morrison and Blake, about his late nights, about Willow Brennan and the upcoming Christmas dinner. I give her Hudson's phone number, his car's make and model, his office address. Carmen takes notes in a small leather-bound notebook, her handwriting surprisingly neat for someone who spent 2 decades as a cop. One more thing, she says when I'm finished. Does your husband have any idea you suspect anything? No. I've been playing the perfect wife. He thinks I'm too focused on decorating and hosting to notice. Good. Keep it that way. The moment he suspects you're building a case, he'll get careful. Right now he's sloppy because he's confident. We want him to stay that way. I nod, feeling a strange mix of relief and dread. This is happening. I'm actually doing this. I'll start tomorrow, Carmen says. I'll send you updates every few days. Encrypted emails to whatever account you want me to use. Nothing traceable to your regular email or phone. I give her the address of the secret account I'd created. Smart, she says approvingly. You'd be surprised how many people don't think of that. We shake hands and I leave the cafe feeling lighter than I have in days. I'm not alone anymore. I have an ally, someone who believes me, someone who's going to help me fight back. The next 2 weeks pass in a surreal blur. I maintain my routine perfectly. The dutiful wife, the gracious hostess, the woman who smiles and asks how Hudson's day was even though I know exactly how his day was. Carmen sends me updates every 3 days. The first email contains photos of Hudson and Willow meeting at the Four Seasons Hotel downtown. They're sitting close together in the lobby bar, his hand on her knee. The timestamp shows 2:15 p.m. on a Thursday, right in the middle of what Hudson had told me was a client lunch. The second email has video footage. Carmen managed to follow them to a parking garage on Randolph Street, where they kissed like teenagers against Hudson's car before he drove away and she got into her own vehicle. It's grainy but clear enough, undeniable. The third email contains financial records. Carmen has a contact who was able to pull Hudson's personal credit card statements. The Amex I'm not authorized to use. The charges tell a story. Jewelry from Tiffany, dinners at expensive restaurants I've never been to, a weekend stay at a resort in Lake Geneva that happened during a time Hudson claimed he was at a conference in Milwaukee. I look at the receipts and feel nothing. The hurt has been burned away, replaced by cold calculation. This is ammunition. This is leverage. This is power. But Carmen's fourth email is what changes everything. Call me, it says. Found something you need to know about. I wait until Hudson leaves for work, then dial her number. Willow Brennan works at Morrison and Blake, Carmen says without preamble. Same firm as your husband. She started 3 months ago. My stomach drops. They're colleagues. More than that, he's up for partner. And Bella, there's something else. Carmen pauses. I've been following her too just to get a fuller picture. She's seeing someone else besides your husband. What? Richard Morrison, founding partner at Morrison and Blake, married 3 kids. I've got photos of them together at Alinea last week, at the Peninsula Hotel 2 weeks before that. She's playing them both. I sink into a chair, my mind racing. Willow isn't just Hudson's mistress. She's juggling multiple affairs, using both men to advance her career. I did some digging into her phone records, Carmen continues. Her security is weak, uses the same password for everything, doesn't have two-factor authentication. I managed to pull some text messages between her and Morrison. Want me to send them to you? Yes. The texts arrive 10 minutes later and they're damning. Willow calls Hudson desperate and clingy. She tells Richard that Hudson is a convenient distraction, while she waits for Richard to leave his wife. She's playing them against each other and neither man has any idea. I sit there staring at the messages and something clicks into place in my mind. A plan. Not just exposing Hudson's affair but exposing everything. All of Willow's lies, all of her manipulation, bringing everyone together in one room and watching her carefully constructed house of cards collapse. I call Carmen back. How would you feel about helping me with something unconventional? There's a pause, then a low chuckle. Honey, I live for unconventional. What did you have in mind? I need to contact Richard Morrison, anonymously. I need to tell him what his girlfriend is really doing. You want to invite him to this Christmas dinner of yours. Exactly. Along with his wife. She deserves to know too. That's bold, Carmen says. Also potentially brilliant. You'd need ironclad evidence though. He won't believe you without proof. Can you get me screenshots of those texts? Anything else you found? I can do better than that. I'll compile a full dossier. Photos, receipts, timeline of their affair. Everything. You send it to Morrison, let him verify it himself, and then you invite him to witness the whole thing firsthand. Can you help me write the email? Make sure it's untraceable. Absolutely. Let's set up another meeting. This is going to take some planning. After we hang up, I walk to the window and look out at Lincoln Park below. Families are walking dogs, couples are jogging. The city is going about its business completely unaware that my life is about to implode and rebuild itself into something new. Hudson thinks I'm harmless. He thinks Christmas dinner will be the beginning of the end of our marriage, with me quietly retreating and filing for divorce like the obedient wife I've been trained to be. He's wrong. Christmas dinner is going to be the end, all right, but not the ending he's expecting. I meet Carmen again 3 days later at a different location, a quiet library in Logan Square where we can work without being overheard. She's already there when I arrive, sitting at a corner table with her laptop open and a stack of printed documents beside her. I've got everything organized, she says quietly as I sit down. Photos, credit card statements, phone records, timeline of meetings. It's airtight. She slides a folder across the table. I open it and see my marriage documented in brutal detail. Hudson and Willow at hotels, restaurants, in his car. Dates and timestamps on every image. Financial records showing exactly how much he spent on her while telling me we need to be careful with money. This is for Morrison, Carmen says, tapping another folder. Similar evidence but focused on his relationship with Willow. I pulled text messages she sent to him. The ones where she talks about Hudson being a distraction, where she calls your husband desperate and clingy. I stare at the evidence and feel that cold determination solidify further. This is real. This is happening. Now we need to figure out how to contact Richard Morrison, Carmen says. You can't use your regular email. He'll trace it back to you and the whole plan falls apart. I know. That's why I set up a Proton Mail account. I pull out my phone and show her. Completely anonymous. Can't be traced. Carmen looks impressed. You've been doing your homework. I've had a lot of sleepless nights. We spend the next hour crafting the email together. Carmen's experience as a detective shows. She knows exactly how to word things to be convincing without being threatening, how to present information that will make Morrison take it seriously. The final version reads, Mr. Morrison, you don't know me but I know you. More importantly, I know Willow Brennan, the attorney at your firm who's currently up for partner. I'm writing because I believe you deserve to know the truth about the woman you've been seeing. Willow is currently in a relationship with another man at your firm, Hudson Whitmore, a senior investment analyst. They've been carrying on an affair for over a year, and she's planning to spend Christmas with him and his wife. I have evidence, photos, messages, hotel receipts. If you'd like proof of what I'm telling you, respond to this email. You seem like a successful man with a lot to lose. Willow Brennan is playing both of you and I thought you should know before she does any more damage. Concerned friend. It's good, Carmen says, reading it over my shoulder. Not too emotional, not accusatory, just facts. He'll respond. How can you be sure? Because men like Richard Morrison can't resist a mystery. And because his ego won't let him ignore the possibility that he's being played. She closes her laptop. When do you want to send it? I think about Hudson's announcement about Willow confirming she'll be at Christmas dinner. Tonight. After Hudson goes to bed. Carmen nods. Once you send this, there's no taking it back. You're committing to this plan. I know. That evening, Hudson comes home around 8, earlier than usual. He's in a good mood, whistling as he hangs up his coat. It takes everything in me not to react, not to let my mask slip. Good day, I ask, stirring the pasta sauce I've been making. Great day. Close to big deal. Morrison was impressed. He comes up behind me, kisses the top of my head, a gesture that would have made me happy a month ago. Now it makes my skin crawl. Is that carbonara? Your favorite. You're the best, Bella. He pours himself wine, actually pours me a glass too. I was thinking, we should go shopping this weekend for Christmas. Get something nice for Willow. What do you think? Maybe a scarf? Something tasteful? I grip the wooden spoon tighter. He wants me to help him buy a gift for his mistress. That sounds lovely, I hear myself say. A cashmere scarf maybe. Very elegant. Perfect. See, this is why I knew you'd be mature about her coming to dinner. You're always so gracious. We eat dinner and Hudson actually talks to me about work, about the deal he closed, about his plans for next year. It's almost like old times, except now I know it's all performance. He's buttering me up, making sure I stay compliant, making sure I don't object to Willow's presence at Christmas. I smile and nod and ask the right questions, and inside I'm counting the hours until he falls asleep. At 11:30 he finally heads to bed. I wait another 30 minutes, listening to his breathing even out into the familiar pattern of sleep. Then I take my laptop to the bathroom, close the door and sit on the edge of the tub. My hands are shaking as I open the Proton Mail account and paste in the email Carmen and I wrote. I attach a selection of the evidence. Enough to be convincing, not so much that it's overwhelming. My finger hovers over the send button. This is it. The point of no return. Once I send this email, I'm setting events in motion that I can't control. Richard Morrison could ignore it, could tell Willow, could do any number of things that would ruin my plan. But I think of Hudson's smirk, his casual cruelty, the way he told me to behave myself as if I'm a child who needs discipline. I think of the texts where he called me simple, harmless, easy to manage. I click send. The email whooshes away into the digital void and I sit there staring at the screen, my heart pounding so hard I can hear it in my ears. I close the laptop and go back to bed, sliding carefully under the covers so I don't wake Hudson. He doesn't stir, doesn't even shift in his sleep. I lie there in the dark, wide awake, wondering if I've just made a terrible mistake. The next morning, I check the anonymous email account the moment Hudson leaves for work. Nothing. I check again an hour later. Still nothing. By noon, I'm convinced Richard Morrison has deleted the email without reading it, or decided it's some kind of scam, or simply doesn't care. Then at 1:30 p.m. my laptop chimes with a new message. Who is this? How did you get this information? My hands shake as I open it. The email is brief, aggressive, exactly what I'd expect from a powerful man who's just been told uncomfortable truths. I'd prepared a response for this with Carmen. I attach more evidence, screenshots of texts between Hudson and Willow, the hotel receipts, several of Carmen's surveillance photos. I keep my message short. Everything I told you is true. Check the evidence. If you want more proof, I can provide it. I send it before I can second-guess myself. An hour passes, then another. I try to distract myself with cleaning, with cooking, with anything that will keep my hands busy. But my mind keeps circling back to that email, wondering what Richard Morrison is doing with the information I've given him. At 4 p.m. another message appears. I confronted her. She denied everything. Said you're lying. Said you're some crazy ex-girlfriend of mine trying to cause trouble. Who are you? I expected this. Willow is smart, manipulative. Of course she'd deny it. This is the critical moment, the point where I have to reveal my identity. I take a deep breath and type. I'm not your ex-girlfriend. I'm Hudson Whitmore's wife. My name is Bella. We've been married for 4 years and we live together in Lincoln Park. Everything I've told you is true. Willow has been playing both of you. My husband has invited Willow to our Christmas dinner. He told me to behave myself. He thinks I don't know about the affair. He thinks I'm too simple to notice. But I know everything. Here's what I'm proposing. You and I give them exactly what they want. A nice Christmas dinner. All of us together. Let's see how well Willow handles being exposed in front of everyone. If you're interested in making sure the truth comes out, respond to this email. I send it and immediately feel sick. I've just revealed my identity to a stranger, trusted him with information that could destroy my entire plan if he decides to warn Hudson or Willow. I close the laptop and pace the apartment, unable to sit still. 1 day passes. Then 3. By November 13th, I'm convinced I've miscalculated. Richard Morrison isn't going to respond. He's probably warning Willow right now and she's telling Hudson, and my entire carefully constructed plan is falling apart before it even begins. I'm in the kitchen making lunch when my laptop chimes. I nearly dropped the knife I'm holding. I walk slowly to the computer and open the email. I'm in. What do you need from me? I have to read it 3 times before I believe it's real. Richard Morrison, founding partner at Morrison and Blake, powerful, successful, used to being in control, has agreed to help me expose his mistress and my husband. I sit down heavily in a chair, suddenly aware that my legs are shaking. Carmen was right. Men like Richard Morrison can't resist the opportunity to regain control when they've been manipulated. His ego won't allow him to let Willow get away with playing him. I type back quickly. Come to my apartment on Christmas Day at 6:30 p.m. I'll text you when to arrive. Bring your wife, she deserves to know the truth too. And bring any evidence you've collected from work. His response comes within minutes. Catherine will be there. And I've been collecting emails and security footage for the past 3 days. Willow's been sloppy at the office. She won't have a career left when this is over. I close the laptop and sit there in my kitchen, surrounded by the trappings of my carefully curated life, and feel something shift inside me. I'm not alone anymore. I have allies. I have a plan. And in 6 weeks, Hudson and Willow are going to understand exactly what happens when you underestimate the simple, harmless wife. Over the next 6 weeks, Richard Morrison and I exchange dozens of encrypted emails, coordinating every detail of what will happen on Christmas Day. The correspondence is businesslike, clinical almost, 2 people who've been wronged working together to ensure their betrayers face consequences. Richard sends me evidence he's been collecting at work. Security footage of Willow entering his office after hours, time-stamped at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday when the building should have been empty. Email exchanges where she discusses strategy sessions that clearly have nothing to do with legal work. He's building a case to have her dismissed from Morrison and Blake. And he's doing it with the same ruthless efficiency that made him a founding partner. Catherine knows everything now, he writes in early December. She wants to be there when it happens. She deserves to see Willow's face when the truth comes out. I write back. The more witnesses, the better. Meanwhile, I maintain my performance at home with Hudson. It's gotten easier, strangely, the acting. Maybe because I know there's an end date now. Christmas Day, 6:30 p.m. Everything after that will be different. Hudson mentions Willow constantly. Willow thinks we should diversify our portfolio. Willow recommended this wine. Each mention used to feel like a small cut. Now it just feels like confirmation that I'm doing the right thing. In mid-December, my sister Claire calls. Are you still doing Christmas at your place? She asks. The kids are so excited to see the city lights. Actually, I say carefully, I was wondering if you could come alone this year. Just you. I know that's weird, but, Bella, what's going on? You've sounded strange for weeks. I choose my words carefully. I can't explain yet, but I need you there. And Claire, bring your phone. You're going to want to record this. There's a long pause. Record what? Trust me. Just be there by 5:30. And whatever happens, don't try to stop it. You're scaring me. Don't be scared. I'm finally doing something for myself. After we hang up, I sit with that statement. I'm finally doing something for myself. 4 years of marriage, and this is the first time I've prioritized my own needs over Hudson's comfort. The week before Christmas, Hudson actually takes me shopping for Willow's gift. We go to a boutique on Michigan Avenue, and he picks out an expensive cashmere scarf in dove gray. What do you think? He asks, holding it up. Classy enough? I'm standing in a designer store helping my husband pick out a gift for his mistress, and he doesn't see anything wrong with this picture. It's perfect, I say. She'll love it. He beams at me. See, this is why I knew you'd handle this maturely. You're not like other women. You don't get jealous or insecure. You're confident in our relationship. I want to laugh or scream. Instead, I smile and suggest we get a gift wrap. Christmas Eve, Hudson stays up late wrapping presents. I watch from the bedroom doorway as he carefully folds paper around the scarf, ties it with an elaborate bow. He's actually humming, while preparing a gift for the woman he's been sleeping with behind my wife's back. I should feel hurt. Instead, I feel nothing. The hurt has been replaced by cold anticipation. That night, I barely sleep. I lie beside Hudson, staring at the ceiling, running through every detail of tomorrow. At some point around 3 a.m., doubt creeps in. What if this backfires? What if exposing Hudson publicly makes me look vindictive instead of justified? What if Richard Morrison changes his mind? But then I remember the prenup, the adultery clause on page 17. The fact that if I don't do this, if I just quietly file for divorce, Hudson gets everything and I'm left with $50,000 and the label of failed wife. Oh, this is the only way. I wake at 5 a.m., adrenaline already coursing through my system. Hudson is still asleep, snoring softly, completely at peace. I slip out of bed and pad to the kitchen. The apartment is dark, silent. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows I can see Chicago beginning to wake up. Early morning joggers in the park. The first hints of dawn lightening the sky. I turn on the kitchen lights and begin cooking. Prime rib, the expensive cut I ordered from the butcher a week ago. I season it with salt, pepper, fresh rosemary and garlic, then slide it into the oven. The smell begins to fill the apartment immediately, rich and savory. Potatoes next. I peel them by hand, cut them into chunks, boil them until they're soft. Mash them with butter, cream, more garlic. My hands move automatically, muscle memory from years of cooking meals Hudson barely acknowledged. Brussels sprouts, bacon, balsamic glaze, fresh rolls from the bakery on Armitage. I'd picked them up yesterday and stored them carefully. Everything has to be perfect. This is the last meal I'll cook as Hudson's wife. The last time I'll play this role. As I work, I run through the timeline obsessively. Willow arrives at 6. We'll eat, make small talk, pretend everything is normal. At 6:25 I'll excuse myself to check on dessert. I'll pull out my phone and text Richard and Catherine Morrison. Now. They'll be waiting in the building lobby with Carmen, who'll be filming everything. They'll take the elevator up. I'll open the door. And then everything explodes. By noon, the prime rib is resting, the sides are prepared, and I'm setting the table. Our wedding china. The plates with gold trim that Hudson's mother selected, that I've always found too formal, too cold. Today they're perfect. Crystal wine glasses catching the winter light. Silver candlesticks I've polished until I can see my reflection in them. 7 place settings. Hudson wanders in around 2, hair still messy from sleep, wearing the cashmere robe I gave him last Christmas. He's holding his phone, scrolling through something, work emails probably or messages from Willow. 7 places? He frowns at the table. Who else is coming? My heart skips, but I keep my voice casual. Oh, just Claire. I know you said not to invite her, but it's Christmas. I thought you'd understand. He sighs, annoyed but not suspicious. Fine, whatever. Just tell her to keep the personal questions to a minimum. I don't want her interrogating Willow about work or making things awkward. Of course, I say smoothly. I'll make sure everything goes smoothly. He doesn't ask about the other 2 place settings. Doesn't wonder why I've gone to so much trouble for a casual dinner. He's so confident in my obedience, so certain of my simplicity, that he doesn't question anything. After he disappears back into the bedroom, I stand alone in the dining room staring at those 7 place settings. In a few hours, 7 people will sit at this table. 7 people whose lives are about to change completely. Hudson thinks he's in control. He thinks tonight will go exactly as he planned. A nice dinner where he gets to show off his brilliant ex-girlfriend while his compliant wife plays hostess. He thinks this is the beginning of the end, the setup for a divorce where he walks away with everything. He's wrong. At 5:30 Claire arrives early. She hugs me at the door and I can feel her tension. Okay, what is happening? She whispers urgently. You've been weird for weeks. And now you're having Christmas dinner with Hudson's ex-girlfriend? Bella, this isn't like you. I glance over my shoulder to make sure Hudson is still in the bedroom. I can't explain everything yet. Just, when things start happening, start recording on your phone. And don't stop no matter what. Her eyes go wide. Recording what? Bella, trust me, please. She studies my face for a long moment, then nods slowly. Hey, I trust you. Claire has never liked Hudson. She thought I changed after we got married. Became quieter, less confident, more apologetic. She's told me a dozen times that I deserve better, that Hudson treats me more like an employee than a wife. Tonight she'll see exactly what kind of man I married. Hudson emerges from the bedroom at 5:50, wearing a hunter green cashmere sweater that probably cost more than I used to make in a week at my old job. His hair is perfectly styled, his cologne expensive and subtle. He barely glances at Claire. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Hudson, Claire says, her tone carefully neutral. I see her jaw tighten, see the way she's gripping her wine glass. She's already angry on my behalf and she doesn't even know what's coming yet. At exactly 6 p.m. the doorbell rings. Hudson practically leaps from his seat. He smooths his sweater, runs a hand through his hair, and heads for the door with an eagerness I haven't seen directed at me in years. I stay in the kitchen, my hands gripping the counter edge. This is it. The performance begins. I hear Hudson's voice, warm and intimate. Willow, you made it. Then a woman's voice, equally warm. Of course. Merry Christmas. Footsteps. The rustle of a coat being removed. I take a deep breath, smooth my red dress. I chose it deliberately, boldly, nothing Hudson ever suggested I wear, and walk into the living room. Willow Brennan is exactly as beautiful as her photos suggested. Tall, probably 5'9", with dark hair styled in perfect waves. She's wearing a cream cashmere sweater that probably cost $1,000 and tailored black pants that fit like they were made for her. Her boots are chocolate leather, expensive and elegant. She's holding a bottle of wine. I recognize the label, it's at least $100. And a gift bag with Hudson's name embroidered on it. Everything about her screams success, confidence, control. Hudson. She hugs him and I watch her hand linger on his back just a moment too long. Subtle, but I see it. Claire sees it too. I catch her expression out of the corner of my eye, and she looks ready to throw her wine glass. Willow turns to me and her smile is warm but assessing. You must be Bella. Thank you so much for having me in your beautiful home. Up close, I can see the calculation behind her warmth. She's trying to figure me out, determine if I'm a threat. Her eyes sweep over me quickly, cataloging my dress, my posture, looking for signs of suspicion or jealousy. She finds none. I've practiced this too well. Of course, I say, taking her coat. Hudson's told me so much about you. It's wonderful to finally meet you properly. The pleasure is mine. He hands me the wine. I hope you like Burgundy. I'm sure it's perfect. I hang her coat in the closet, and when I turn back, Hudson and Willow are already deep in conversation about something work-related. Claire is watching them with barely concealed disgust. Shall we sit down to dinner? I suggest brightly. Everyone moves to the table. Hudson pulls out Willow's chair, a gesture he hasn't done for me in at least 2 years. She sits gracefully, smoothing her hands over the tablecloth, admiring the place settings. Everything looks absolutely beautiful, Bella, she says. You've outdone yourself. Thank you. I wanted tonight to be special, and I mean it. This will be a night none of us ever forget. I start serving dinner, moving between the kitchen and dining room with the practiced efficiency of someone who's hosted dozens of these meals. Prime rib sliced perfectly, plated with the mashed potatoes and Brussels sprouts. Everything arranged just so. Willow accepts her plate with an appreciative smile. This looks incredible, Bella. You're so talented in the kitchen. The condescension is subtle but unmistakable. So talented in the kitchen. As if that's the height of my abilities. As if cooking is the only valuable thing I can offer. Thank you, I say smoothly. I've had a lot of practice. Hudson is already cutting into his prime rib, not bothering to wait for everyone to be served. Willow watches him with amusement, an inside joke I'm not part of. Claire is silent, her fork poised over her plate, her eyes moving between Hudson and Willow like she's watching a tennis match. So Bella, Willow says, taking a sip of wine, Hudson mentioned you used to work in event planning? There it is. The opening salvo. She knows exactly what she's doing. I did, I say, sitting down in my own seat, before we got married. Oh, how fun. Her enthusiasm is theatrical. What kind of events? Like children's birthday parties, corporate mixers, that sort of thing. Hudson actually laughs. A short, dismissive sound that makes my hand tighten around my wine glass. Claire's fork clatters against her plate. She coordinated major corporate events, Claire says sharply. Product launches, fundraisers. She was senior coordinator at one of the best boutique firms in Chicago. Willow's smile doesn't waver. How impressive, but you gave it up when you got married. Hudson and I decided it made more sense for me to focus on our home. I say, the lie smooth after years of practice. Of course, Willow says, but there's something in her tone, pity mixed with superiority. Not everyone is built for high-pressure careers. Some people are more suited to domestic life. The table goes quiet. Even Hudson seems to recognize that was too far because he clears his throat and changes the subject. Willow's about to make partner at Morrison & Blake, he announces like a proud parent. Youngest woman in the firm's history. How wonderful, I say. You must have worked very hard for that. I have, Willow agrees. She leans forward slightly and her hand brushes Hudson's arm. It's brief, casual, but I see it. Claire sees it too, her jaw tightens. The legal field is so competitive, Willow continues. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes to succeed. Long hours, difficult cases, navigating complex office politics. She pauses meaningfully. Not everyone has the fortitude for it. She's talking about me, comparing her accomplished, high-powered career to my domestic existence, and finding me lacking. Hudson is nodding along, completely oblivious to how insulting this conversation is. Or maybe he's not oblivious. Maybe he agrees with every word. I imagine office politics can be quite complex, I say carefully, especially at a firm like Morrison & Blake. So many powerful personalities in one place. Oh, you have no idea, Willow says, warming to the topic. The partners alone, they're brilliant but difficult. You have to know how to manage them, how to get them on your side. He's talking about Richard Morrison, about manipulating him. She's so confident, so certain that I'm too simple to pick up on the subtext. And how do you manage that? I ask, Getting powerful men on your side? For the first time, something flickers in Willow's expression. Uncertainty maybe, like she's wondering if there was a double meaning in my question. But it passes quickly. Strategy, she says smoothly. Knowing what they need, anticipating their concerns, making yourself indispensable. Hudson is watching her with open admiration. Willow's always been brilliant at reading people, he says. She can walk into any room and understand the power dynamics immediately. That must be useful, Claire says, her voice tight. Being able to manipulate situations to your advantage. Willow's smile sharpens. I prefer to think of it as strategic thinking. It's how you get ahead in competitive fields. The conversation continues like this. Willow dominating, Hudson fawning, Claire getting progressively angrier, and me maintaining my mask of pleasant hospitality while checking the clock on the wall. 6:10. 15 minutes. Willow launches into a story about a recent case, some complex corporate litigation that she navigated brilliantly. She name-drops partners at the firm, mentions 7-figure settlements, talks about her plans for expanding her practice once she makes partner. Hudson hangs on every word. He asks follow-up questions, laughs at her jokes, leans toward her when she talks. He's treating her the way he used to treat me in the early days of our relationship. Attentive, engaged, genuinely interested in what she has to say. When was the last time he asked me about my day? When was the last time he looked at me with that kind of interest? I refill wine glasses, clear plates, serve the next course. The perfect hostess. The invisible wife. You know what I love about Chicago? Willow says, accepting another glass of wine. The energy here. Boston was great for my career, but it never felt like home. Not like here. She glances at Hudson. This is where I'm supposed to be. The implication is clear. This is where they're supposed to be. Together. Hudson's smile is genuine, warm. I'm glad you're back. Me too, Willow says softly, and there's an intimacy in the exchange that makes my stomach turn. Claire stands abruptly. I need to use the restroom. I watch her go, see the tension in her shoulders. When she passes behind Hudson's chair, I catch her mouthing something at me. What the hell? 6:15. 10 minutes. I excuse myself to the kitchen, ostensibly to check on dessert. My hands are shaking now, adrenaline finally breaking through the calm I've maintained. I grip the counter edge and take slow, deep breaths. Through the doorway, I can hear Willow's voice, still dominating the conversation. She's talking about a trip she and Hudson took to Michigan during college. Some weekend at someone's lake house. Remember that ridiculous canoe race? She's saying. You were so competitive, you insisted we had to win. We did win, Hudson says. We cheated, Willow laughs. You cut across the course when the judge wasn't looking. They're creating their own world at my dining table. Reminiscing about shared history, inside jokes, memories I'm not part of. Claiming territory. Claire appears beside me in the kitchen. Bella, I swear to God if you don't tell me what's happening right now. 6:25, I whisper, checking my phone. Watch what happens at 6:25. That's 8 minutes from now. I know. What happens then? I meet her eyes. Justice. She stares at me for a long moment, then nods slowly. Hey, I trust you. We return to the dining room together. Willow is showing Hudson something on her phone. Photos from the trip, probably. Their heads are close together and she's laughing at something. They don't even notice we've come back. I sit down and force myself to eat a few bites of food that tastes like cardboard. My whole body is tense, coiled, waiting. 6:20. Willow is talking about her apartment in River North now. You'll have to come see it, Hudson. The view is spectacular. I'm on the 40th floor. You can see all the way to the lake. I'd love to, Hudson says immediately. The invitation is blatant. She's inviting my husband to her apartment in front of me without a shred of shame. Because she thinks I don't matter. She thinks I'm too simple, too passive, too well-trained to object. 6:22. You know what? Willow says, leaning back in her chair with her wine glass. This has been lovely, Bella. Really. Hudson was right. You're very gracious. Gracious. That's the word Hudson used to describe me. Gracious. Accommodating. Easy to manage. 6:23. I stand up. Before dessert, I have a surprise. Hudson looks up, mildly curious. A surprise. Yes. I walk toward the door, my heart hammering against my ribs. You said we should make this Christmas special and I took that to heart. I invited a few more guests. Willow's eyes narrow. Just slightly, but I catch it. She's smart enough to sense danger even if she can't identify the source yet. I thought Willow might enjoy seeing some familiar faces. I continue. Willow's wine glass pauses halfway to her lips. 6:24. I pull out my phone, thumb hovering over the prepared message to Richard Morrison. Hudson is frowning now. What do you mean, more guests? I press send. You'll see in just a moment. The apartment is silent. Claire has her phone out already, recording. Her expression is alert, focused. 30 seconds pass. 45. Then the doorbell rings. The sound cuts through the dining room like a gunshot. Hudson glances at the door, then at me, confusion flickering across his face. Who is that? Your surprise, I say, and I can hear the edge in my own voice now. The mask is starting to crack. I walk to the door and open it. Richard Morrison stands in the hallway, tall and imposing in a charcoal wool coat. His expression is pure fury, barely contained, jaw tight, eyes cold. Behind him is a woman in her 50s with silver blonde hair and ice blue eyes. Catherine Morrison. She's wearing an elegant black dress and a diamond necklace that probably costs more than my car. Hello, Richard says, his voice dangerously quiet. Thank you for the invitation, Mrs. Whitmore. I step aside to let them in. The moment Willow sees Richard, all the color drains from her face. Her wine glass slips in her hand and red wine splashes onto the white tablecloth, a spreading stain like blood. Richard, she whispers. What are you doing here? Hudson is on his feet, his chair crashing backward. What the hell is going on? Bella, who are these people? I close the door behind Richard and Catherine with a soft click that echoes in the sudden silence. Sit down, Hudson, I say calmly. We're just getting started. Catherine Morrison removes her coat with deliberate slowness, draping it over the back of one of the empty chairs. She moves like someone who's already decided how this evening will end and is now simply going through the necessary steps to get there. Richard steps fully into the apartment and I close the door behind him. The soft click of the latch sounds unnaturally loud in the silence. Everyone, please take a seat, I say, my voice steady. We have a lot to discuss. Hudson is still standing, his chair knocked over behind him. Bella, what is this? Who are these people? Sit down, Hudson, I repeat. He doesn't move. His eyes are darting between me, Richard, Catherine, and Willow, trying to make sense of what's happening. This is Richard Morrison, I say, gesturing toward him like I'm introducing dinner guests at a normal party. Founding partner at Morrison and Blake. Your boss, actually. I pause. And your girlfriend's other boyfriend. The words detonate in the room. Hudson's face goes blank with confusion. What? And this, I continue, indicating Catherine, is his wife. She's here because she deserves to know what Willow's been doing. Willow has gone completely white. She's gripping the edge of the table like it's the only thing keeping her upright. Claire has her phone out, recording. Her mouth is hanging open. Bella, Hudson starts, but I cut him off. Sit down. There's something in my voice that makes him obey. He rights his chair and sinks into it, looking shell-shocked. Catherine takes one of the empty seats with perfect posture, her hands folded in her lap. Richard remains standing, arms crossed, his expression carved from granite. I walk to the sideboard where I'd left my tablet earlier, the one Hudson gave me last Christmas before everything fell apart. The irony isn't lost on me. I've spent the last 6 weeks documenting everything, I say, connecting the tablet to our television, and I think it's time everyone saw the truth. The screen comes to life and I open the first folder. Photos fill the 70-inch display. Hudson and Willow at the Four Seasons Hotel bar, sitting close together, his hand on her knee. The timestamp reads 2:15 p.m. Thursday, September 14th. That was during your client lunch, I say to Hudson conversationally. Remember? You said you couldn't make our anniversary dinner planning that day because of an important client. I swipe to the next photo. Hudson and Willow in a parking garage, pressed against his car, kissing. The image is grainy but unmistakable. October 3rd, I narrate. You told me you were working late on quarterly reports. Another swipe. Willow entering a hotel, Hudson following 30 seconds later. October 18th, another late night at the office. I keep swiping. A catalog of betrayal playing out on our television screen for everyone to see. Restaurants, hotels, his car, her apartment building. Each photo is time-stamped, dated, documented with the precision of a legal brief. Hudson's face has gone from confused to horrified. Bella, how did you? I hired an investigator, I say simply. After I found your texts. You left your phone unlocked one night. Did you know that? He's staring at me like he's never seen me before. But wait, I say, swiping to a new folder. Because Willow hasn't just been seeing you, Hudson. New photos appear. Willow and Richard Morrison at Alinea, one of Chicago's most exclusive restaurants. His hand is covering hers across the table. The intimacy is obvious. Catherine's face remains expressionless, but I see her hands tighten in her lap. This was November 8th, I say. A Wednesday evening. Another photo. Willow entering Richard's office building at 11 p.m., the timestamp clearly visible. Another of her leaving at 2 a.m. She's been sleeping with Richard Morrison, her boss at Morrison and Blake, to secure her partnership position. Richard's voice is cold. Show them the texts. I pull out my phone, where I'd saved screenshots of the messages Carmen had pulled from Willow's poorly secured accounts. These are texts between Willow and Richard, I say, reading from the screen. Hudson's so easy to manipulate. He thinks I'm choosing him. I pause, looking at Hudson, as if I'd choose a mid-level analyst over a founding partner. Hudson makes a strangled sound. Catherine speaks for the first time, her voice like ice. Keep reading. I swipe to the next message. Hudson keeps asking when I'll tell his wife about us. It's getting annoying. I need him to be patient, but he's getting clingy. That's not. Willow starts, but Richard cuts her off. Don't. Just don't. I keep reading. I'm using his apartment as a convenient meeting place since Catherine's been checking your credit cards. Hudson's too clueless to notice your cologne on my clothes. The words hang in the air. This one's particularly good, I say, scrolling. Hudson called himself my soulmate last night. I had to fake taking a phone call so I wouldn't laugh in his face. Hudson is staring at Willow and something is breaking behind his eyes. The realization that everything he thought they had was a lie. There's more, I continue. Hudson keeps talking about our future together, about how we'll go public after he divorces Bella, as if I'd throw away my career for a desperate analyst who still believes in true love. The room has gone completely silent except for my voice. He's beneath me, he always has been, but he's useful. His apartment, his devotion, his willingness to believe anything I tell him. I'll keep him around until I don't need him anymore. Hudson's face crumples. It's not satisfaction I feel watching him, it's something colder. He called me simple. He planned to humiliate me. Now he understands how it feels. Did you know, I say, looking directly at him, that Willow has been calling you desperate for months? That she never planned to be with you? That she was always going to choose Richard once she made partner? Hudson opens his mouth but no words come out. Willow has been sitting frozen through all of this, but something in her finally snaps. She stands abruptly, her chair scraping harshly against the floor. You're all beneath me. The words come out as a snarl. And suddenly the polished corporate attorney is gone. What's left is raw and ugly. Hudson, you're pathetic, she spits, clinging to some fantasy of us together like a lovesick teenager. You were always just a stepping stone, a warm body when Richard was busy playing family man. Hudson flinches like she's physically struck him. Willow turns her venom on Richard. And you think I'd sacrifice my career for you? You're married with 3 kids. You were never going to leave Catherine and we both knew it. You were just another way to get what I wanted. Which was what? Richard's voice is dangerously quiet. The partnership? Obviously. Willow's laugh is sharp and bitter. You think I slept with you because I found you attractive? Because I cared about you? God, you're all so predictable. Men with power who think their positions make them irresistible. Catherine stands slowly. You won't have a career after tonight. I'm calling every partner at Morrison and Blake. You'll be blacklisted from every major firm in Chicago. You think I'm afraid of you? Willow turns on her, but there's desperation creeping into her voice now. I'll land on my feet. I always do. Not this time, Richard says. I've already documented everything. The emails you sent from your work account. The security footage of you in my office after hours. The firm's morality clause is very clear about relationships that compromise professional integrity. Willow's mask is completely shattered now. You're all just jealous. Jealous that I'm smarter, more ambitious, more willing to do what it takes to succeed. Hudson, you were easy to manipulate because you're weak. Richard, you were easy because you're arrogant. And Bella, she turns to me with pure contempt. You were easy because you're simple. There it is. That word again. Was I ask quietly, because it seems to me that the simple wife just orchestrated this entire evening. I documented everything. I hired an investigator. I found your other victim and convinced him to help me. I planned this dinner down to the minute. Does that seem simple to you, Willow? She doesn't have an answer. I walk to the Christmas tree and pull out the decorative box I'd hidden there this morning. Inside are the documents Victoria Pierce prepared for me last week. Hudson, I say, returning to the table. Remember that prenup I signed 4 years ago? His eyes focus on me, red-rimmed but attentive. The one where I get almost nothing if I file for divorce within 5 years? The one your lawyer designed specifically to trap me. I open the box and pull out the papers. It has an adultery clause. Page 17. If I can prove you committed adultery, the entire prenup is void. I set the papers in front of him. These are divorce papers. My attorney will file them Monday morning at 9 a.m. And thanks to the evidence I've collected, months of text messages, dozens of photographs, hotel receipts, financial records, and testimony from a former Chicago PD detective, the prenup doesn't protect you anymore. Hudson stares at the documents like they're written in a foreign language. I get half of everything, I continue. The apartment that was purchased with my inheritance, your 401k, your investment portfolio, your savings, all of it divided according to Illinois law. I gesture to the doorway where Carmen has been standing with her camera, documenting everything. Carmen Delgado, former detective, now private investigator. She's witnessed everything tonight, filmed everything. It's all evidence. Hudson looks up at me and I see the moment he really understands what's happened. You planned this, he says slowly. All of this. You invited them. You exposed us. You've been playing me this whole time. You told me to behave myself, I say softly. So I did. I behaved perfectly. I smiled and cooked and hosted your work dinners and played the obedient wife while I documented every lie you told me. I leaned down so I'm eye level with him. You called me simple, easy to manage, easy to control. You planned to humiliate me by making me serve dinner to your mistress. You wanted me to file for divorce so you could play the victim and keep everything. My voice is steady cold. So yes, Hudson, I planned this. Every single detail. Because you underestimated me. And that was your biggest mistake. Hudson sits motionless at the table, the divorce papers still clutched in his hands. His eyes are unfocused, staring at nothing. For a moment no one moves. No one speaks. Then Willow breaks. She grabs her coat from the closet with shaking hands, doesn't bother putting it on, just clutches it to her chest and runs for the door. Her expensive heels click frantically against the hardwood, sharp, panicked sounds that echo through the apartment. The door slams behind her and we hear her stumbling down the hallway toward the elevator. Richard Morrison stands slowly, his movements controlled but his face carved from stone. Catherine, he says quietly, we should go. But Catherine doesn't move immediately. She stands and walks over to me, her posture perfect despite everything that's just happened. Up close I can see the fine lines around her eyes, the tension in her jaw. This is a woman who's been through pain but refuses to break in public. Thank you, she says, her voice low enough that only I can hear. Thank you for telling me the truth, for giving me the evidence I needed. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, I say. She shakes her head slightly. Don't be. If you hadn't done this I might never have known. We have 3 children. I needed to understand what kind of woman was trying to destroy my family. She pauses. And what kind of man I'm married to. She glances back at Richard and something cold passes across her face. You're stronger than you look, she tells me. Don't forget that. Then she walks to the door and Richard follows. As they leave I hear Catherine's voice in the hallway, sharp and cutting. Don't you dare try to explain this away. Richard's response is too quiet to make out but Catherine's isn't. 23 years of marriage and this is what you do? We'll discuss this at home. With my attorney present. The elevator dings. Their voices fade. Claire is still standing by the table, her phone in her hand. The recording finally stopped. She looks at Hudson, then at me, clearly uncertain whether to stay or give us privacy. Claire, I say quietly, can you give us a minute? She nods and moves to the living room, far enough away to give us space but close enough to intervene if needed. Hudson finally looks up at me. His eyes are red and he looks years older than he did an hour ago. Where do I go? He asks and his voice breaks on the words. Bella, where do I go? Sounds like a child, lost, helpless. Part of me, a small part I'm not proud of, wants to comfort him. 4 years of conditioning don't disappear in one night. 4 years of putting his needs first, of smoothing over his problems, of being the solution instead of adding to his stress. But I push that impulse down. I don't care where you go, I say. This apartment is mine. You have until Monday to collect your things. After that I'm changing the locks. Bella, please. No. My voice is firm. You made your choices. You called me simple. You told Willow I was easy to manage. You planned to humiliate me by making me serve dinner to your mistress in my own home. I never meant. It doesn't matter what you meant. It matters what you did. I take a breath. You have 2 days to pack your essentials. Anything you leave behind will be donated or thrown away. He stands slowly, like every movement cost him something. He picks up his coat from where he'd draped it over his chair hours ago, back when he thought this would be a pleasant dinner. At the door he turns back one more time. I'm sorry, he whispers, for everything. I know that doesn't fix anything but I am sorry. Sorry isn't enough, I say. The door closes behind him with a soft click that feels unnaturally loud in the silence. I stand there frozen staring at that closed door. The apartment is completely quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic from the street below. Claire appears at my side. Bella. And that's when I break. My legs give out and I sink into the nearest chair. The sobs come from somewhere deep inside me, somewhere I've been keeping locked away for weeks. They're ugly, gasping, full-body sobs that make my chest ache and my throat burn. Claire drops to her knees beside me and pulls me into her arms. I've got you, sis. Let it out. I cry for the marriage I thought I had, for the man I thought Hudson was, for the 4 years I spent making myself smaller, believing that was what love looked like. I cry for the woman I was when I met him, confident, employed, independent, and the woman I became, small, compliant, invisible. Carmen moves quietly through the apartment, giving us space. I hear her packing up her equipment, see her taking photos of the wrecked dinner table, evidence for my legal file. She's professional, efficient, letting me fall apart without making me feel observed. Why doesn't this feel better? I ask Claire through my tears. I won. I exposed them. I'm keeping everything. So why do I feel like this? Claire smooths my hair back from my face the way our mother used to when we were children. Because you loved him. Because you believed in your marriage. Revenge doesn't erase that pain. It just proves you were strong enough to fight back. I don't feel strong. I feel destroyed. You're both. You can be both. She holds me tighter. You just burned down your whole life, Bella. It's okay to grieve what you lost, even if losing it was necessary. Carmen approaches quietly. I'm going to head out. I'll have the full report to your attorney by tomorrow afternoon. If you need anything at all, call me. Day or night. I manage to nod to thank her. She squeezes my shoulder once, then leaves. Claire stays with me until nearly midnight. She helps me clear the table, scraping untouched food into the trash, loading the dishwasher with our wedding china that I'll probably never use again. She finds a tablecloth in the linen closet and covers the wine stain on the white fabric. We'll deal with it later, she says. Come stay with me, Claire offers. You shouldn't be alone tonight. But I shake my head. I need to be here. I need to, process. Are you sure? I'm sure. She hugs me tight at the door. Call me if you need anything. I mean it. 2 in the morning doesn't matter. I'll come back. I know. Thank you. After she leaves, I stand in the apartment that suddenly feels enormous and empty. I walk through the rooms slowly, seeing them differently now. The kitchen where I spent hours cooking meals Hudson barely acknowledged. The living room where we hosted his colleagues and I played the gracious hostess. The bedroom where we shared a bed but stopped sharing anything else. Hudson's presence is everywhere. His clothes in the closet, expensive suits, cashmere sweaters, everything perfectly organized. His toiletries in the bathroom lined up by height on his side of the counter. His laptop on the desk in what used to be the guest room but became his office. I start gathering his things, not packing them carefully, just pulling clothes from hangers and piling them by the door. I want them gone. Want every trace of him removed from my space. But some things I can't remove as easily. The photos on the walls. Our wedding day, both of us smiling like we believed in forever. A weekend trip to Door County during our first year of marriage. Hudson's arm around me at his company's holiday party. Both of us dressed up, looking like the perfect couple. Was any of it real? Or was I playing a role in his life even then? I take down the wedding photo and turn it face down on the sideboard. I can't look at it right now. The couch we bought together is still here. We'd spent an entire Saturday going to furniture stores, arguing good-naturedly about leather versus fabric, finally compromising on this gray upholstered sectional that neither of us loved but both could tolerate. That was what our marriage became, I realize. Compromises where I gave up what I wanted and accepted what he could tolerate. I pour myself a glass of wine, the expensive bottle Willow brought ironically, and stand at the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlook Lincoln Park. The city spreads out below me, glittering and indifferent. Somewhere out there, Hudson is figuring out where he's going to sleep tonight. Willow is probably already trying to control the narrative, calling friends, spinning the story to make herself the victim. Richard and Catherine Morrison are having a conversation that might end their marriage or somehow save it. And I'm here in this apartment that's finally mine, feeling hollow despite my victory. I've won. I got everything I wanted from this revenge. Hudson is exposed, humiliated, losing everything. Willow's career is destroyed. I'm keeping the apartment, half the assets, my dignity. So why does it feel like I've lost something too? I don't sleep, can't sleep. I sit on that gray couch we bought together and watch the sky slowly change from black to navy to pale pink as dawn approaches. My phone is on the coffee table and I watch it light up periodically with notifications. Text from Claire. Asterisk thinking of you. Call if you need me. Asterisk an email from Carmen with preliminary notes. A voicemail from my attorney that I don't listen to yet. At 7 a.m. the phone rings. I answer without looking at the screen. Bella, it's Victoria Pierce. My attorney. Her voice is brisk, professional, energized. She's calling on a Sunday morning because this case just became the highlight of her month. Carmen sent me the footage from last night. It's absolutely perfect. Clear, documented, multiple witnesses. Hudson won't fight this, he can't. The evidence is overwhelming. Good. I say. My voice sounds flat even to my own ears. The papers will be filed Monday morning at 9 a.m. sharp. You'll have temporary sole possession of the apartment and Hudson will be served at his office. More witnesses, public humiliation, exactly what you wanted. Given the circumstances and the strength of our evidence, I expect the divorce to be finalized within 3 months. 3 months. 90 days until this marriage is legally over. You'll retain full ownership of the apartment, Victoria continues, clearly reading from notes. Half of all marital assets including his 401k and investment accounts. And based on the timeline of the affair, particularly the adultery that occurred during your miscarriage attempts, we'll be seeking substantial damages for emotional distress. He's excited. This is a win for her, a case study she'll tell other clients about. But all I can think about is the woman I was a year ago. Happy, trusting, planning a future with a man she loved. That woman is gone, and I'm the one who killed her. Thank you, Victoria. I manage. Get some rest, she says. Monday we start the next phase. After we hang up, I sit with the phone in my hand staring at it. Carmen calls next. Her voice is gentler than Victoria's, more concerned. How are you holding up? I don't know, I admit. That's normal. You just orchestrated one of the most dramatic confrontations I've seen in 15 years of doing this work. You exposed 2 affairs, destroyed a manipulator's career and filed for divorce. All in one night. It's okay to feel wrecked. I thought I'd feel different, stronger, more sure. Revenge is complicated, Carmen says. It's not like in movies where the hero walks away feeling victorious. You did what you had to do to protect yourself to get what you deserve. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. I close my eyes. Did I do the right thing? Yes, Carmen says without hesitation. What was your alternative? Let him divorce you on his terms, take everything, leave you with nothing? Let him get away with calling you simple and treating you like you didn't matter. He's right. I know she's right. But knowing it doesn't make the hollowness go away. Take it one day at a time, Carmen says. Rest today. Monday we move forward. But right now just breathe. After we hang up, I finally let myself lie down on the couch. The apartment is silent except for the distant sounds of the city waking up outside. I close my eyes and drift in and out of a restless half-sleep, where Hudson's voice mixes with Willow's, where I see the look on his face when he realized what I'd done, where I feel both powerful and powerless at once. I survived. I fought back. I won. But I don't know yet what comes after winning. Monday comes. I force myself to get up from the couch, to shower, to put on clean clothes. My eyes are swollen from crying and I look like I haven't slept, because I haven't, but I manage to make myself presentable. At 9 a.m. Victoria Pierce calls to confirm the papers have been filed. Hudson was served at his office 20 minutes ago in front of his colleagues. The public humiliation I'd wanted. How did he react? Asked, not sure why I care. According to the process server, he went pale and left immediately. Didn't say a word. I thank her and hang up. The days that follow blur together. Hudson comes by on Tuesday with a moving company, packing up his things while I stay in the bedroom. I don't want to see him. Don't want to hear whatever excuses or apologies he might offer. Claire stays with me that day, a physical barrier between us. By Wednesday most of his things are gone. The apartment feels cavernous, empty, but also lighter somehow. The divorce proceedings move quickly. With the evidence Carmen compiled and the footage from Christmas dinner, Hudson's attorney advises him not to fight. The prenup is void and the adultery is documented beyond any dispute. By the end of January, we're just negotiating details. Division of assets, settlement terms. Hudson agrees to everything Victoria demands. I think he just wants it over, wants to disappear and rebuild somewhere far away from the wreckage of his reputation. In February, I hear through mutual acquaintances that Willow Brennan has left Chicago. Morrison and Blake fired her within 48 hours of Christmas, and no other major firm would touch her. The legal community is small and word travels fast. Catherine Morrison files for divorce from Richard in early March. I see the filing in the public records. She's seeking full custody of their children and the majority of their assets. I hope she gets everything she's asking for. My own divorce is finalized on March 12th, a Tuesday that feels like any other day except that it marks the legal end of my marriage. I own the apartment outright now. Hudson walked away with his car, his 401k minus half its value, and about 30% of what we'd accumulated together. I got everything else. And slowly, so slowly I barely notice it happening, I start to rebuild. The first thing I do is redecorate. I can't stand looking at the gray and cream color scheme Hudson insisted on, the furniture that matches his aesthetic instead of mine, the art he chose because it was investment quality, rather than because it moved him. I paint the living room a deep, warm blue. I buy throw pillows in burnt orange and gold. I hang art I actually love, colorful abstract pieces from local artists, photographs of Chicago neighborhoods, a painting of Lake Michigan that makes me feel calm. His office becomes my studio. I'd given up painting years ago when Hudson needed the space for his work setup, but now I buy canvases and oils and spend hours creating abstract pieces that help me process everything I've been through. The bedroom gets a complete makeover. Gone are the stark white linens and minimalist decor. Now it's sage green walls, soft textures, plants on every surface. A sanctuary instead of a showroom. I cut my hair shorter, easier to manage for the early morning runs I've started taking through Lincoln Park. I buy clothes that make me feel like myself, comfortable jeans, oversized sweaters, nothing that Hudson ever would have approved of. The woman staring back at me from the mirror barely resembles the woman from a year ago. She's thinner from all the running, stronger from the literal rebuilding. Her eyes are different too, sharper, more alert, less trusting but more confident. She's learned that kindness without boundaries is self-destruction. That love without respect is just control. That sometimes you have to burn everything down to build something better. In late March, something unexpected happens. I get an email through the support forum where I'd found Carmen all those months ago. A woman named Jennifer is reaching out. She found my story somewhere in the threads and she's going through something similar. Her husband is gaslighting her, belittling her, and she just found evidence of an affair. I read what you did, she writes. How you gathered evidence and fought back. I don't know if I can do the same, but I wanted to reach out, just to know I'm not alone. I write back immediately. We schedule a call. Jennifer is 34, married 7 years, no kids. Her husband controls their finances, criticizes everything she does, has slowly isolated her from friends and family. The pattern is so familiar it makes my chest ache. We talk for 3 hours. I tell her about Carmen, about Victoria Pierce, about the importance of documenting everything before making any moves. I walk her through the steps I took, the mistakes I almost made, the things I wish I'd known earlier. By the end of the call, she's crying, but they're not hopeless tears. They're the tears of someone who finally believes escape is possible. Thank you, she says. I thought I was trapped. I thought I was crazy. You're not crazy, I tell her. And you're not trapped. You're going to get through this. She files for divorce in April. More women reach out after that. 3 in May, 7 in June. Word is spreading through the online communities. There's a woman in Chicago who helps people escape difficult marriages, who connects them with resources, who's been through it herself. I start doing formal consultations. Not therapy, I'm not qualified for that, but strategic planning, how to document abuse, how to find a good investigator, how to understand your prenup and your rights, how to build a case that will hold up in court. I charge on a sliding scale. Some women can afford market rates, others can barely afford anything. I help them all. By mid-June, I realize I've accidentally built a business. Not event planning, which Hudson always dismissed as frivolous. Something more meaningful. Something that helps women take their lives back. One morning, I'm out on my usual run when my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Hi Bella. You don't know me, but I found your name through a support forum. I'm going through something similar. My husband's been belittling me for years and I just found evidence of an affair. I read your story. It gave me courage. Thank you. I stop running, standing in the middle of the path while joggers flow around me. My story is out there, being shared, helping women I'll never meet. I text back. You're stronger than you know. If you need help, reach out. You're not alone. Her response is immediate. Can we talk? I'm scared to leave. I find a bench and call her. Her name is Michelle. She's 32, married 6 years. Her husband doesn't hit her. She's careful to clarify that, as if it matters, as if emotional abuse is less valid than physical. But he controls everything. The money, her schedule, her friendships, her self-worth. I thought I was being too sensitive, she says. He tells me that all the time. That I'm too emotional, too dramatic, that I make problems where there aren't any. You're not too sensitive, I tell her. That's what he wants you to believe. It's easier to control someone who doubts themselves. We talk for over an hour. By the end, she has a plan. Document everything, open a secret bank account, contact Carmen for surveillance, call Victoria about the legal options. You gave me hope, she says before we hang up. I didn't think I had any options. Now I see a way forward. After the call, I sit on that bench watching the city move around me. Runners, dog walkers, families with strollers. And I think about the network we're building. Women helping women. Sharing information. Refusing to stay silent. Hudson called me harmless. Simple. Easy to manage. He was wrong about all of it. The Saturday morning after that call, I wake up feeling different. Not happy exactly. Healing doesn't work that way, but lighter. More sure. I lace up my running shoes and head out into a perfect June day. The park is alive with summer, vendors setting up near the lake, kids playing soccer on the fields, couples walking hand in hand. I run my usual 5 miles, pushing hard, feeling my muscles burn and my lungs expand. Somewhere around mile 3, I realize I'm not running away from anything anymore. I'm running toward something, toward the life I'm building, toward the woman I'm becoming. The woman I am now understands that self-respect isn't negotiable, that being told to behave isn't love, it's control, that sometimes the only way to survive is to fight back with everything you have. I still have bad days, days when I'm angry that I wasted 4 years on Hudson, days when I mourn the marriage I thought I had, days when the betrayal feels fresh instead of distant. But I also have good days, days when a client tells me I saved her life, days when I paint something beautiful in my studio, days when I look around my apartment and feel genuinely at home for the first time in years. My phone buzzes with a text from Claire. Brunch this weekend? Bring champagne. Celebrating 6 months of you being a badass. I smile, not the small, placating smile I wore throughout my marriage, but something genuine and fierce. Absolutely, I text back. I'll bring the expensive stuff. That's my girl. Proud of you, sis. I finish my run and slow to a walk as my building comes into view. My building, my apartment, my sanctuary that I fought for and won. I take the stairs instead of the elevator, feeling the burn in my legs, feeling alive. Inside, the apartment smells like the coffee I'd set to brew before my run. Morning light streams through the windows, catching the blue walls, the colorful art, the plants I've scattered everywhere. The space is mine, not Hudson's, not ours. I pour myself coffee and stand at those floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the park below. The view that once felt like a cage now feels like possibility. I was Bella Whitmore, the woman who was told to behave herself, who was called simple and easy to manage, who was supposed to quietly disappear after her marriage ended. Instead, I became something else, something stronger, something unbreakable. I chose rebellion over compliance, justice over silence, my own freedom over his comfort, and now I'm just Bella. Not defined by my marriage or my divorce or even my revenge. Just myself. For the first time in 5 years, I'm not afraid of what comes next. I'm ready for it. My phone buzzes again. Another woman reaching out, another person who needs help finding her way out. I smile and pick up the phone. This is who I am now. This is what I do. I help women stop being harmless. And I've never been more proud of anything in my life. If this story of calculated justice had you glued to your screen, hit that like button right now. My favorite part was when Bella opened that door and Richard Morrison stepped in. Watching Hudson's face drain of color was priceless. What was your favorite moment? Drop it in the comments below. Don't miss more powerful revenge stories like this. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload.